too many tokens that nobody knows what they do, what their purpose is, why they exist. And look, the last year didn't help with meme coins. And now there's prediction markets, so people are like, oh, we can bet on that instead. Blockchain rails exist to transfer value. How are we transferring value better? What value are we transferring that wasn't transferable before? These are the critical questions that everybody really should be asking when saying, do we support this project? Where are we looking to go? Are we generating economic activity? That's really what it comes down to.
John Nahas is the Chief Business Officer at Ava Labs. The team helps grow Avalanche's blockchain and its approach to scaling through purpose-built chains called L1s. John breaks down what the next wave of builders on Avalanche could be, why dedicated infrastructure matters, and what recent partnerships reveal about where on-chain activity is headed. Thinking of 2026, what are the top priorities for you?
More users, more assets, more transactions, more L1s. That's it. That's really what's guiding a lot of what's happening going forward. Nothing else matters.
John, welcome on. This is definitely not your first time on the show, but I'm always happy to have you back.
Thanks for having me, Jacquelyn. It's always great being with you.
You're always fun to talk to. I feel like you have good insights, and Avalanche has grown a lot throughout the years, and I've been covering it. We've worked with you guys, and it's just kind of great to kind of see the evolution of everything. But I think before we get into all that, I kind of want to like set the tone on the front of Avalanche. It's been positioned as like this high performance blockchain focused on scalability and the L1s, which were previously called subnets. But then there's also kind of course, Avalanche exists, but then there's like the other chains out there that are highly successful as well. How do you kind of think from a business perspective, diving like straight into it, Avalanche's approach is differing from other ecosystems like Ethereum or Solana, for example?
It's a little difficult for us. I don't want to sugarcoat that. When you're able to do a lot and everything, you kind of want to do everything. And it takes a little bit of discipline and sometimes, frankly, trial and error with what works and what doesn't. I have a talk that I've been doing lately about reimagining blockchains, and the whole pitch is kind of, we've had these generations of blockchain like technological advancements like super fast and cheap and decentralized and all this great stuff. And I think there's a growing sentiment right now around the fact that there's just too much infra in this space and not enough like action and applications and real stuff. And I agree. I think as an industry we have failed to deliver on any kind of killer apps, meaningful change aside from kind of reinventing what exists currently in the world, but on chain, right? Like there's
Hmm.
no aha moment. There's no revolutionary. This is possible because of blockchain. I mean, we haven't really cracked the payments, remittance, the most basic use case that I think was the first vision way back when with Satoshi, even in Bitcoin, right? The ability to send and receive money fast and cheap. I like to kind of talk about kind of the on-chain world as like a different planet. Like we build this amazing utopia on another planet, but getting people on to that planet and back is still increasingly difficult. And I think it's honestly an industry problem. I think we have an elitism problem in this industry. We talk to people that are not crypto native as if they don't get it because they don't, nor should they, nor like there's never been a
Right.
technology where people had to understand the premise of the technology to use it, right? Like we refer to
Exactly. Yeah.
people that are not crypto native as normies. Like that's a pejorative. We are talking down to them. Like they don't understand seed phrases. And so we have, I think as an industry writ large, failed on that to that extent. But back to the original point, we just keep creating better technology, but we're still
Hmm.
stuck in a first generation business problem. And what I mean by that is new general purpose chain every 6 months, new narrative, new 6 month meta, whether it's, you know, parrot chains or L2s or move VMs or um, whatever it is now. Like there's just this. Oh, now it's privacy, of course. Right. So now that's everybody's focus. This didn't matter 6 months ago, and now all of a sudden it's the aha moment, and in 6 months it'll be something else again. But we just it's attention distraction, and we don't
Yeah.
focus on what's working. So ETH is the foundation of everything that's smart contract related, and we love everything that the Ethereum community has done and brought to this space. But ETH wasn't built for this moment. They are an inverted pyramid with L2s that are now general purpose and L3s that are application specific and L4s. And I've even heard people mention L5s. Like you're fixing the car as the car is driving, right? Like, and I get it. That's fine. I think, kudos to Solana for creating a very strong community. They've had a moat, and that was the SVM. but that's the one infinite pipe. Like the pipe just gets fatter and larger and everything gets shoved through it. And that works in a fragmented attention economy. That works with retail and speculation, but that doesn't bring millions of people and institutions and enterprises and global adoption on scale. Whatever the narrative, a million TPS, 5 billion TPS, that's all great. But that's not the way the world is built. That's not the way regulations and compliance and everything else exists. So I think there is an elegance to the Avalanche design and why I've been here for 5 years and why I still believe in kind of what we've built in that different institutions, different enterprises, different use cases, different jurisdictions, different compliance requirements are going to need their own chains. And I think you're starting to see a divergence away from this, one chain to rule them all or whatever it may be towards the focus on purpose-built chains. Now, purpose-built chains, though, take time, right? They take attention, they take thought, they take diligence, and you can't launch a chain as quickly as you launch an app. So what we worked on 2 years ago comes to fruition now, 18 months ago now, 9 months ago, maybe in a couple months. There's a lot of balls in the air. So what we've done well is, I think, stay true to the vision and the mission of Avalanche to bring 70 plus L1s on chain right now with, I think, over 100 plus on testnet. They're coming. How these all work together and assets moving across chains and many chains that feel like one, that's a big mouthful. It's a lot of words even for me to just say to you right now. How do we distill that? How do we explain that better? How do we prove what we've done? I mean, you see other networks talk about how they work with all the banks, but they don't. We're working with banks, enterprises, sports leagues, but what do they all have in common? And we need to do a better job telling our story and the
Mm.
value of that story. But more so, some things have worked and some haven't. Uh, we learn from our mistakes. We do it in public. We get dressed down in public, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's the
Hmm.
that's the power and the benefit of being accountable to a community and to a broader ecosystem. But
Yeah.
I think the attention is fragmented now. I think some chains have done a fantastic job getting to where they are, but it's going to be hard to hold that. So we'll see where we go. I
Yeah.
think there's a little bit of a change happening now.
Yeah. I feel like there's like 50 things we could unpack from what you just said. And there was like a lot of little like gold nuggets in there. I mean, the narrative side.
This is a therapy session, right? We're venting. We're venting today. We're having fun.
Yeah, yeah, this is therapy. Yeah. I'm gonna charge you after.
It's okay.
Literally, unlicensed therapist. I think what you're talking about is like the attention fragmentation is huge. But then there's also kind of the other side of the coin where you have to kind of be a part of it, especially like when you are a generalist chain, you're not like specific to one thing. Of course, you want to be in all these different areas. Maybe I'm speaking for everyone, not just like Avalanche included. But I think on the narrative side of things too, it's like, how do you kind of build a strong narrative when there's so much chaos going all the time? And you talked about before how like you guys have tried things and maybe it didn't work. What are some of those examples of things where you're like, this is going to stick, it's going to be successful, and then you guys actually kind of realized, oh, this maybe wasn't as big as we thought it would be?
I think initially it was everyone's going to want their own chain.
Mm.
And we believe that. And we still do. And then we're coming around to that. But that's a big kind of box to unpack. Like for people, like when we go talk to when we go out there and we pitch to somebody, like you need your own chain. Their first inclination is yes. And
Yeah.
then they go, but like they start to like the imagination starts to run wild about, well, but we're gonna run like what? And then so there's like a kind of de-education process where where we have to be like, you know, running your own chain should be and is like running a cloud instance on AWS, right? Like there's still this misnomer that you need 5 years of R&D and all this great stuff to launch and build a chain and a team of distributed
It's not
systems
scalable if
uh,
that's the case, right?
engineer. It's
Yeah.
it's not, but because we've kind of made it elitistly, like an elitist way, so difficult and you know there's been some ecosystems that are delayed 1 year, 2 years to mainnet and whatever, and token and this and a million other things. Um, you can spin up a chain in 5 minutes. Granted, a very, very general purpose chain, but you could. Within a month, you can have a chain on this. So there's there's this give and take. So I think, what we saw last year was that a lot of institutions were down to have their own chains. A lot of enterprises see the value there. A lot of startups see the value as being on chain from day one, right? So we're working with a lot of those guys. There was a
Hmm.
lot of like, what didn't work was, hey, Web2 company, come on to Web3, right? Like, hey, internet company, be an on-chain company. Unless if it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of a thing. And some of them are like, and then crypto. So there's been a renewed focus and a little bit of a pivot towards those that are building from day one on chain. Like they're building a fintech product, they're building a yield product, they're building a loyalty and rewards product or a payments product, but it's on chain from day one. And the fact that it
Yeah.
uses a blockchain just happens to be an added benefit rather than the, you know, shiny object that like shoved in your face. And some of these guys don't have tokens. Some do, some will. But it's a mix, right? Like in a speculative world, like no token, why does it matter to me? Is mostly the user reaction, right? But I think we're getting to a place where that doesn't matter as much as it used to anymore, at least in the
Yeah.
interim.
Why do you think that is?
Things are changing. I think we've seen over the past few
Yeah.
weeks, things are changing a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, it's Monday. I think you said this goes out on Thursday. I'm sure
This
what I
goes out
said
on
today is
Thursday. Yeah. Hopefully the market does not go absolutely AWOL between these 3 days, but yes.
what I'm saying today might not be relevant on Thursday. Like
Yeah.
that's a very difficult place to be when you're really trying to plan medium to long term. I think what you've seen us do on the medium to long term has always come to fruition, but it's that interceding short term narrative, attention, market shifts that come and go that kind of throw a wrench into everything. So you see a lot of stop and go from us. We're trying to smooth that out.
With these L1s though, why are some of them successful compared to others? And then you bring up the token side, like some are launching tokens, some aren't. Obviously, if you have like very maybe this isn't a good way to say it, but like serious businesses, they probably will not touch a token right now just because of like compliance and concerns. Whereas like maybe startups have a little more free will. They don't have like a big structure where they have to go through like a massive legal team, so they could just go for it, maybe. That's probably a watered down take.
There used to be a period, and I've said this a few times when people have asked me like years, like over the years, where companies and projects would come to us and say, "We want to do X, Y, Z, and one, two, three, and this is all very exciting, but on chain." And they go, "Why do you need a blockchain for this?" Oh, because we want, yeah, the crypto, and our board is asking for it. I'm like, no, this doesn't make any sense. I think that same energy and thought process now is existing with tokens in the sense of people are like, we're going to do this and this and this and this and this and launch a token. And then we're like, why are you launching a token? Like just
Mm,
YOLOing a token, hoping price go up and everybody rallies around it is not sufficient anymore. So yes, there is some compliance. There is compliance issues. There is legal issues. There's regulatory issues. Hopefully, market structure comes and clears that up. I think that gives everybody an idea of what side of the line they're on. When there is no line, nobody ever wants to be standing like, oops, an inch on the wrong side if that line is created in the future. Um, but in general, just too many tokens, right? Too many tokens that nobody knows what they do, what their purpose is, why they exist. And look, the last year didn't help with meme coins, frankly. You have 100,000 tokens, and when you have things that have value and things that attribute value and things that support things, and then things that are completely valueless that are capturing all the attention for a year, and you know, money from retail and everybody else, and effectively being lottery tickets where people say, I'm going to put $10,000 and I want it to go to 100 or lose it. This doesn't help us progress writ large as an industry, right? We're just
yeah.
the 24/7, 365 casino. Like you can
Yeah.
have a network for that, that's fine. But that's not what, generally speaking, this industry is doing. Um, and now there's prediction markets, so people are like, oh, we can bet
I
on
was
that
gonna say
instead.
that
And
about the prediction markets too. Yeah.
prediction markets are like the newest thing. That's great. I think they are sticking. They don't use the blockchain that much, right? So aside from some flows here or there, but I think they're starting to take that into account. And it's supportive. Like first principles, blockchain rails exist to transfer value. How are we transferring value better? What value are we transferring that wasn't transferable before? or unlocked or available before? Like these are the critical questions that everybody really should be asking when saying, do we support this project? Where are we looking to go? Like, are we generating economic activity? That's
Yeah.
really what it comes down to. Everything else is noise. But again, that's a longer road. And that takes patience and focus, which is antithetical to everything that's going on a daily basis here.
There's no patience in this industry.
It's a lot of gray hairs, though.
Yeah. Another question I had for you, I was actually talking about Avalanche the other day in the car with a friend, and we were going back and forth. And I don't know this, and maybe I should know this, and that's why I'm asking you. But like with all these L1s on Avalanche, how does that like bring value back to Avalanche's C chain or P chain? Does it,
Mhm.
or does it kind of pull away from it? Like, what's the relationship there?
So back in the day, there used to be a requirement that every validator that validated an Avalanche L1 also had to validate the primary network. Well, institutions and enterprises said, we can't do that. We can't touch that. So for the sake of a growth and adoption, we changed that to the kind of pay as you go model. So effectively, every Avalanche L1, each validator pays a fee to the network in AVAX that is burned, deflationary. So Avalanche, since inception, burns all of its transaction fees. So you do a transaction on C chain, that fee is burned. We've been burning fees since day one, and AVAX is hard capped, right? So it's not inflationary. It's hard capped in supply. So it's always that supply minus what's been burned. So C chain
Right.
burns. L1 validators burn per month. Now there's some ACPs are out there that for the community to talk about how we increase that value. But we're at 70, we'll be at about 150 plus chain, if not 200 by next year. Maybe it's time to turn that fee up a little bit for the sake of adoption. It was lower. So C chain burns, L1 validators burn, and then ICM, so interchain messaging. So when your L1 interacts with the C chain and pulls liquidity, or your L1 talks to another L1 and moves stuff around, those transaction fees also burn. So
Okay.
effectively, what we're working towards is building kind of a cascading burn mechanism, right? But you need the L1s with the assets on the C chain and the need to use them to kind of the thing kind of snowballs, right? From Snowflake to Avalanche. And then you start to see how that happens. But in order to do that, look, there's a lot of work there. Again, time. That you need a ecosystem that has kind of differing L1s with different use cases that have different assets that need other assets that interact with those assets. And then you start to see it all work together and all burn kind of the burn mechanism starts to fulfill that. But
Yeah.
it could be better. It should be better. And we need to make that better.
I also want to talk to you about tokenization and RWAs. That's like a hard pivot because I had no way to segue between those two conversations. But anyways, Avalanche ranks as, I believe, the fourth highest for RWA value the last time I looked. How do you kind of think about positioning the chain even further in this space? And like, why do you think, the tokenization sector really took off on Avalanche? Obviously, there's like a ton of partnerships, which we could get into as well. But like, what makes it special in your eyes?
So I think a couple things. One, the simple fact that the C chain is EVM based, near instant finality, and low fees helps, right? Because the instant finality matters with RWA issuers. Nobody wants to wait for anything. Nobody wants to deal with that. The team, honestly, I can't say enough about the amazing work that the institutional and cap markets team and all of the entire on-chain finance team is doing, right? So marrying not just institutional stuff, but also tokenization with payments, with DeFi. That whole team now works kind of as a single unit because RWA stuff does affect DeFi, right? And so DeFi, CeFi, that convergence is there. So that's two. And three, I think with L1s, it matters, right? So we have seen a significant uptake recently because, good assets want to be around other good assets. So that's helpful. The work we've done with KKR, BlackRock's Biddle,
Hmm.
JP Morgan, Citi, Apollo,
Right.
the list is endless, which is fantastic. But there is a credibility and authority there on the tech side.
Hmm.
The team second, and third on the L1 side, I think you're seeing all of this, right? So Balcony is tokenizing $270 billion worth of deeds. That is in one county only in Jersey, right? They have many more counties coming. So that's going to be hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars of real estate deeds. They need their own L1 to do that. Simply put, like a municipality is not going to just do this on a public chain if there's no control. Um, whether it was the California DMV or even FIFA, right? Like these things, they want to control their environments and bring stuff on chain there. Um, Toyota, doing their mobility stuff. There will be, tokenized cars that'll be on that, right? And that
Yeah.
value will be able to be transacted. Mirai asset in Japan, same thing. So whether it's C chain or whether it's the L1s, we give people and institutions and enterprises the tools they need to build the best product that they want to bring to market, right? So it's not like here's my chain, shove your asset onto it. It's what works best for your business and for your need. I think, serious people take us seriously, which is a great thing. Sometimes unserious people don't take us seriously, and I don't get offended by that. Um, so it's adding up, and I think credit to the RWA.XYZ team. I think they now differentiate right between isolated and distributed, right? So like Figure
Mm.
has their Provenance blockchain. That is a HELOC company with a blockchain on the back end. Like that is not
Uh-huh.
comparable to us, which is not comparable to something else. So they have a difference there.
What is isolated versus distributed? Like, how would you differentiate between the two?
Distributed means it's on your chain and it could be moved around, right? Or it could be used in
Oh,
other
okay.
things. So like I would assume Balcony would be but Balcony tokenizing deeds would be isolated, meaning it's on their chain, it exists on their chain. It's not going to be, used in DeFi and tradable with outside of their ecosystem. Whereas, but if they do in the future say, hey, you could take your deed and put it into this protocol and someone can borrow, you can borrow, lend against it, right? Or borrow against it,
Hmm.
then it becomes distributed. Like it's usable, right? Or tradable or something. So that's a nice distinction there. I think in the distributed, we come in second now. Overall, we're around fourth. So, like blockchain, like BlackRock's BUIDL is distributed. Like you can use it, you can do
Yeah.
stuff with it. Other things are just kind of stuck there. So distinctions matter, especially in a space that like takes one chart out of like seven and then puts it up there and says their form of the truth, and then you're like, oh, zoom out, and it's like, oh, okay, it's helpful.
Yeah. I mean, all of these things too are very different in their own way and have individuality, like the California DMV, the Toyota one
Mhm.
you brought up, um, the BlackRock BUIDL, all these different things, right? But what would you say is like the common denominator here then?
Serious people that want to use blockchain and do stuff on chain, using whatever platform, system, technology, whatever you want to call it, that suits their needs.
I mean, from a business perspective too.
I mean, it's the mix, right? It's the
Yeah.
mix of all of these things. Or like we could be a chain that has all of these money market fund tokens on it, and that's it. And cool. Like we have, $10 billion of money markets on our public chain, but nothing else. But we could
Yeah.
also have this mix, right? The whole point of markets is the array and the diversity of assets that you could use against other assets or with other assets. If you're recreating an on-chain economy. And to do that, you need the diversity of assets, use cases, and everything in between.
How would you say the institutional attitudes towards, blockchain infrastructure evolved this year? Like, where do you kind of see that in the short term, but then also like going into 2026, which I guess is the short term as well, because we're
So
so close to that.
so there's one constant and then there's one deviation. The
Yeah.
constant is that, and I said this a while ago, people used to say, okay, we're going to try something. And that's where a lot of the POCs we did historically came from. Those took 18 months to do, right? And then after the POC, another 12 months to the in production, like kind of, so the POC is the crawl. The first step is the walk. That's another 12 months. And then maybe one day we'll run soon. We're seeing people now completely skip the crawl and just go to the walk. And then people that were walking are like, let's just run.
Rum. Hmm.
There is more appetite to just do things, kind of like not have to worry that, Genius helped a lot with stablecoins, which is kind of the second point that I was going to make is the narrative now is everybody wants a stablecoin and needs to know what their stablecoin strategy is. Some of it
Literally.
is
Yes.
noise
Yes.
because that's the meta, but some of it is true because Genius is in place now. So people can now say, let's try stuff and not worry about getting in trouble. So with that, a lot of things will fail and a lot of things will succeed at the same
Hmm.
time. And the detractors will say, look at all the things that failed. And the other people will say, well, look, you gave us clarity. We used clarity to go and build something that is usable. There's a little bit of a boom going on with everybody wanting their own stable coin right now.
Hmm.
That's like That's like the cool kids club. Do you have your own stable coin? I'm sure people sitting on their country clubs or on Wall Street are like, do you have a stable coin strategy? And what's mine? And do you have a stable coin coming?
Yeah.
I said this
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. Like if you're a platform and you don't have a stable coin strategy or haven't had one or whatever it is for years, then you're too late to the party. Like for us
Yeah.
years ago, it was, the dollar is king, but we need others. If you want payments, if you want remittance, you need FX stable coins as well, whether XSGD, KRW1 in Korea, JPYC in Japan, Q, the Canadian dollar, the British pound, the Swiss franc, like you need to have that ability and then have
Mhm.
great tools for people to use against it.
If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that every token launch is high stakes, but Forged helps projects get it right. Thousands of Web3 projects leverage Forge's free tools to design smarter tokenomics, engage market makers on fair terms, plan listings strategically, and monitor liquidity after launch. Start using the Forge platform for free or sign up for white glove advisory services.
Do you think that stablecoins will be the key driver for adoption in 2026, or it's going to be another category or a mix of that and something else?
I think it'll lead because there's regulatory clarity. If we get a market structure bill, I think coming up soon, I think tokenization then takes off like more so like what tokens matter, what don't, how are they classified, helps. Like, look, at the end of the day, stable coins are digital cash. Like that is building block step one that you need in order for number two, which is tokenization to go wild, which is number three, innovation and different new ways to use these assets.
Do you think any of these themes kind of like surprised you this year, though? Like, did you really, if we rewind almost a year ago, we just got a new president, things were looking up for the crypto industry, right? But like, how do you really kind of, because it's like, I'm thinking, okay, so much has changed in the past 12 months. And like, we're going to talk about 2026 and like what you think is going to be the outlook there. But like, we really can't predict these things. You could kind of like plan and strategize, but like, if you told me a year ago what has transpired in this past year, I'd be like, that's crazy, right? So how do you kind of like one measure, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, like not measure success, but more so like create a strategy when it's so unknown, like the reality of what will
What's the Mike
happen in the
Tyson quote? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in
until
the
they get
face.
punched in the face. Yeah.
You get punched in the face every week in this industry, sometimes multiple times a day, sometimes, I mean, you asked me the last 12 months. I mean, the last 12 weeks have been a complete roller coaster.
Yeah.
But I think, Matt Hogan, I think, had Bitwise and even Hunter had tweeted about this. Like everybody's doom and gloom now because numbers are down.
Mm.
Maybe rightfully so, maybe not. I'm not a market, commentator, but the tailwinds have never been better, right?
Yeah.
Regulatory clarity is here. It's coming. Institutions are coming. Enterprises are coming. Startups are building cool stuff. Innovators are building cool stuff. I think we need to what we've always kind of focused on is the top down, bottom up. And what I mean by that is top down gives you authority and credibility. We have a lot of that. Bottom up allows for innovative, crypto native, whatever you want to call kind of startups to emerge. I think we have a higher hill to climb there just by being EVM, right? So you have ETH and the L2s and separated attention and everything else there. But, we need the innovative stuff to come in and really shake up the incumbency and how things are. And without that, the incumbents aren't forced to change or adopt or move as quickly. I mean, the parallel that I like to say to people is like when we launched, everyone was, you thought we were like very institutional enterprise focused, which I think we were in like 2020. And
Yeah.
then we went hard into DeFi because DeFi was the TAM, DeFi is where the users were, DeFi was the use case for crypto at the time. And the success we had with Rush in 21 and everything else allowed us to then focus on institutional enterprise adoption. And actually, DeFi and all that was the kind of magnet that forced the incumbents to change, to adapt, to grow. Because nobody's going to change their business plan unless they have to or they're threatened, right? Like nobody's going to take their moat and give it away, right? Like why do you
Hmm.
need to change the way things are if we're making a ton of money on our users? Like who's demanding it? You know, look no further than the Wall Street bank CEOs who criticize crypto, Bitcoin, and everything in between, but then their shareholders and their customers demanded it, and now all of a sudden they're our biggest champions. So
Yeah.
unless people start, you start to see the yield up generating opportunities that happen in DeFi. At some point, if enough people wake up to that and realize that, and there's liquidity there, well, then my checking account really doesn't look so exciting anymore. My 0.1%, right? Like my 3% CD that locks me in for 3 months. Like, ooh, that's great. Like there is a better way. We know there is a better way. We've created a better way with DeFi. We've created a better way with, chains that can run these things or neobanks. Like imagine a neobank that launches blockchain native or crypto native, where your deposits are, in the background earning yield, where the whole ecosystem is kind of on chain. Like
Hmm.
imagine like a SoFi being all on chain, where your mortgage is, people are like all these things can work in a silo and then maybe expand out of that. There's a lot of competing forces, but I think where the last year has shown where the last year has been is all over the place, frankly. I mean, yay, great tailwinds, meme coin, president stuff, international stuff. It's just all over the place.
It's a grab bag. Yeah.
Um, yeah, next year I don't think it's going to be much easier, but I do think if they can get clarity through, the Clarity Act through, it'll be huge for us and for
Hmm.
everybody. It's just a win. The industry continues to march forward. I think a little more focus is helpful. If not, then most of the focus should be on things that around the Genius Act and what that enables, because I think there's a huge unlock there, both domestically and abroad.
You also talked kind of before about the banks kind of taking it more seriously. And it's like, okay, originally it was like the users are demanding it, and that's why they go into it. Have you found that to shift at all? And now, they're coming with their own ideas or things that they want to launch, not solely just from like client demand, but kind of their own personal interests, not personal, the company's interests.
Yes and no. Like sometimes it's hard to differentiate. Sometimes some people come to you with the most, you know, perfect with a perfect outline and a perfect idea and a perfect go to market and all this stuff, and then you dig underneath and there's nothing. Or you do all this stuff and then at the end you're like, wait a minute, these guys really don't know what they're doing. And then someone might come to you with a rough idea and you're like, these guys have no idea what they're doing, but they're more serious. Again, no two partners, no two deals, no two anything are the same, especially in this industry, right? Like we're seeing the most serious and kind of effective partners that we are seeing on this front is in Asia. I would say it has been and it continues to be. When Japanese and Korean institutions and enterprises say they're going to do something or want to do something, they have a plan, they do it, they execute, and they do it great. There is no, we're doing it. Oh, at the 11th hour, we have to pause because this guy got pissed or this guy doesn't understand or,
They're committed.
this guy pulled my budget or this guy, or whatever. Like they come to the table ready, they listen, they take feedback, they work with you, they launch, and then they continue to work with you.
Hmm.
Here it's a little bit all over the place, right? Oh, Latin America, we had this great plan going. Um, and then the Malay meme coin came out, right? And like, I think verbatim, the response I got from an executive in Colombia was, in Argentina was at the time, crypto is Chernobyl. Nobody wants to touch it because of the Milei meme coin. So that all goes out the door, right? Um, Granted, we have a great presence there, and everything's picking back up and has been picking
Right.
back up. It's exciting to see that Dev Connect was down there
Yeah.
too.
I know. I was
But
here last year
for
for
a
Avalanche
period.
Summit.
uh,
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Avalanche Summit last year, right? So,
Hmm.
well, yeah, I wasn't gonna say we started that one, but um,
You guys
I mean,
created
amazing
the
state.
cool
But
BA
like,
stuff. Yeah.
there are plans, and then you get punched in the face. You pivot, you move on. But the U.S. is doing much better. Europe
Hmm.
is doing well, but also kind of can't seem to get out of their own way. Mika was many steps forward. Lately, there's been some steps back, but we pivot. We go. We can take the punches and keep going.
Yeah, for sure. So is Asia the focus then?
Mm, well, look. So we have the kind of what I call the core team is industry or vertical specific, and then we have the regional leads who kind of act as like heads of ecosystem in that region and work with the vertical leads. Asia is a focus, has been a focus, always will be, but so is India, so is the Middle East, all right, so is Turkey, so is Latin America, so is Europe.
A
So
list,
we
yep.
have people everywhere to do that. But I think you're seeing a seriousness and an execution, especially in the Japanese and Korean markets that are great, and as well as the Middle East. So there's a lot going on in the Middle East. We have a great team in the Middle East as well. We've been active in the Middle East for some time. Um, when they want to do something, it just gets done. I think it's more of a what's going to get done, what the focus is going to be, and then once you get that done, you kind of push and go. There's
Hmm.
a lot of inshallah in the Middle East, like God willing, until you kind of have it hammered down, and then once you do, you're good to go.
Okay, thinking of 2026, what are the top priorities for you? What are the deals you want to get done that maybe haven't already happened? You don't have to name names, but you're always welcome to. And then also just like
I'll
the
keep it high
general
level.
strategy. Yeah, okay, all right, fine.
More users, more assets, more transactions, more L1s. Like that's it. All with the goal of kind of transactions, AVAX burn. Like that's the North Star. That's really, what's guiding a lot of what's happening going forward. Nothing else matters. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the most perfect North Star. And in parallel to all those things, so transaction users, transactions, L1s, um, is distribution, working with partners, finding ways to embed what we're doing in great applications, great user experience, great assets, rather than kind of, making crypto the focal point. We want to enable a lot better things. We want to reach more people, whether
Yeah,
they know they're using crypto or not. We need to stop being purists, um, as an industry, not just us, but in general. Um, but the North Star is, yeah, assets, transactions, all ones.
we didn't even talk about this, but I wanted to touch on it was the hiring that Ava
Mhm.
Labs has been doing as well with like Vo, Ariel, Pennington. I think that's her last name. She'll kill me if I got
Yep.
that wrong. Um, and just like all these other people, right? What's the strategy here? Like you're getting like really big shots, and it's great. But what's kind of the long-term plan there?
So I always say that like the thing I'm most proud of, more than any partnership or anything, is a fantastic team that I've been able to build here across the ecosystem, and the ecosystem team. Uh, And so, whether it be Vo or Ariel on the marketing side, I think what they bring to the table is something we've been missing for a long time. I think Vo has her finger on the heartbeat of the broader crypto community, like kind of, especially CT and all that stuff. So Vo is really helpful as being kind of a voice to them, but also someone on the other side receiving. When I did my graduate degree in diplomacy, lesson number one was listen. um, as you can tell, all I do is talk. But Vo is great at listening to what's going on, what the beat is, what people really care about, kind of separating the signal from the noise. And Ariel has been fantastic at helping us tell our story. Right? She's only been here like 5, 6 weeks. She's gonna kill me if I mess
Hmm.
that up too. But um, again, I mentioned we do well on executing medium to long term. The short term is oftentimes kind of quiet. You need to be able to tell your story in the short term, so you're not doing the stop and go. So that team is focused, and I think you've noticed our messaging be sharper, our story become more clear, and there's still a lot of work to do there to get us to a point where when you say Avalanche, everybody starts to have the same idea of what it is. Right now, if you ask 10 people what is Avalanche, you'll get 12 different answers, and none of them have anything in common with the other. That's a shortcoming on our point over the years. I think we need to fix that. We have some of the best people in the world to help us do that. So we're really excited to work with them. It's been like an amazing few weeks already. So looking forward to what happens next year.
Amazing. What do you want Avalanche to be then when people think of it?
As you can tell, I do a lot of talking, so it's very hard for me to truncate my words into an easy soundbite. So I will leave it to the wordsmiths who edit me out all the time and tell me
All
what to
right,
say.
fair enough. Yeah. You guys will get the perfect line. Right.
Perfect example, right? Like, look, this is the most perfect. You asked me, I can't give you a one
Hmm.
sentence.
All right. Last thing, John, can you leave us with
Mhm.
a piece of advice, something that you've carried with you throughout your time in the space?
Look, I would say people get really tied into things. They get very emotional about things. I do too. It's hard not to be down on some days and I'm euphoric on others and excited and upset, or to beat yourself up. At the end of the day, find something that matters to you, like your soul, your mind, your heart, whatever. Whether that's family, hobby, faith, I don't know, right? Like I think people are down right now. People
Mm.
are very down. They're like, it's not the end of the world. We are where we were 3 months ago, maybe, right? 4 months ago, give or take. Like these
Zoom
things,
out. Yep.
zoom out a little bit, zoom out a little bit. Everything will be fine. Everything always is fine.
Amazing.
And if it's not, well, you get punched in the face, and life teaches you to make some changes, and you change. That's it.
Amazing. John, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on again. Always a pleasure.
Likewise.